So, Rinpoche arrived early and now we are reciting the Heart Sutra. I prostrate to Aryatara. Thus did I hear at one time the Bhagavan was dwelling on Masavaja's mountain in Rajgira together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time the Bhagavan was absorbed in a concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perception. Also at that time the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya, Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya, Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya, Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shadvatiputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form, form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, composition of factors in consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composition of factors, no consciousness. No eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon.
Keine Form, keinen Ton, keinen Geruch, keinen Geschmack, kein tastbares Objekt und kein Phänomen.
There is no I element and so on, up to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance and so on, up to and including no aging and death and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, or path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly completely awaken to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, should be known as truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared.
Das Mantra der Vollkommenheit von Weisheit ist verkündet.
Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commanded the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya, Avalokiteshvara, saying, Well said, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you have indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoice.
sollte die tiefgründige Vollkommenheit und Weisheit praktiziert werden und die Tathagatas werden sich auch erfreuen.
The Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Shatvatiputra, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya, Avalokiteshvara, and those surrounding the entirety, along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan.
Menschen, Halbgötter und Geisterwesen und priesen das, was vom Bhagavan gesprochen worden war, aufs Höchste. Die Bhagavati, die Essenz der Vollkommenheit und Weisheit, ist verkündet. Dann Seite 9.
Then the short mandala.
Sajibu ijosi metota, Rirabin shini degen badi, Sangye shindu mite uwayi, Drogen amdak shin lache banshu. Idam guru ratna mandala kamiyataya. Sangye churan soki chonamla, Chanjo Pado Dami Gyapsuchi, Agi Chimyongi Besonamgi, Trola Penche Sangye Tropasho. Sangye churan soki chonamla, Chanjo Pado Dami Gyapsuchi, Agi Chimyongi Besonamgi, Trola Penche Sangye Tropasho. Churan Soki Choknamla, Chanju Padu Dami Gyapsuchi, Bagi Chunin Gibe Sonamgi, Trola Penche Sangye Trupashu.
Otosema, ta togon de ya misam kaji pesha, ni deda, ni asaka ne tenista, erikari deda. And
so heute Abend scheint es, dass es ein paar neue Leute, ein paar.
So it seems that this evening are different audience here. Some of those who were there yesterday are not there anymore, and some new people are there. People came from all over the place, not only from Munich. And Rinpoche is greeting everyone.
Und im Allgemeinen
so in general,
Motivation wichtig.
The motivation is very important. It is important for those who listen, and it is also important for those who are teaching the Dharma, and therefore it is important first to generate an altruistic good motivation.
Malinde, Chugi Timemabadi, earlier, and Tani. That in any Nyambu Sherata, Big Tasa Nyambu, so Jana Masho, Kadati, Shetoshi Tangi, Higanta, any the Manyambache, Tata Dile Yati,
So die reinen Nalanda-Lehren existierten.
The teachings from Nalanda, the pure ones, they came from the monastery of Nalanda in India, and they came to Tibet.
Und dann kam die kommunistische Invasion.
And then there was the invasion from the communists, the Chinese communists.
Keine Nalanda-Lehren erschaffte. Und
which was a great threat to the teachings, but
die reinen Nalanda-Lehren weiter bestehen konnten, war nur durch die Güte und seine Heiligkeit im Dalai Lama.
The fact that pure teachings of the Nalanda tradition exists in its entirety till the present day is due to the great kindnesses of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. His Holiness the Dalai Lama, he is traveling all over the world
die Lehre, nicht religiöse Aspekte des Buddhismus.
And is also teaching and talking about the non-Buddhist aspects like secular ethics and all the conduct of loving compassion. And he does that all over the world.
아니 대반되라 대반되버리 리포 생각 거고요 대반되 동의만 되게 당장이 돼요 제가 대반되 동의만 되게 지고 되요 그래서나 대바 용약이 규도 두고 시고 동의만 되 동의 규도 파면 없어 규도 가르 제시다
alle Lebewesen sind gleich in dem Wunsch.
All living beings are equal in the wish to avoid suffering and have happiness. And this wish, every sentient being has this wish. But just to have that wish alone is not sufficient. One also needs to create the causes for happiness and also abandon the causes for suffering.
Die allgemeine Ausbildung im Schulsystem.
The general education in our schools.
Eine Ausbildung wie man
does not include
mit dem mentalen Bewusstsein, so dem sechsten Bewusstsein arbeitet.
how to work with the mental consciousness, so the sixth consciousness.
Meistens auf die Objekte der fünf Sinne und die fünf Sinneswahrnehmungen.
Our education mainly concerns the five sense consciousnesses and the objects of these five sense consciousnesses. And also the main goal of our education is how to maximize the material wealth and prosperity.
labza sambo chamba de zebe labza nebi yinza en din de gulia dungi ma go se jidan jume dungi jumo tu dungi yo de ka ga de ma yi be chenga mi ga ne se wo de di gi
und ja so also es gibt so wie man mit dem mentalen Bewusstsein umgeht, ist nicht eingeschlossen in der Ausbildung im Schulsystem.
The way we work or deal with the mental consciousness is not included in our school system.
Bezüglich einer positiven Einstellung.
So therefore, it is not included how to develop positive motivation or positive thinking and wholesome virtuous actions and thoughts. And because of that, because there is no education in this sense, because that is lacking, there are many negative actions, because if there are negative thoughts and attitudes, this leads to a lot of negative actions. And we can see this in our world. There is a lot of unbearable suffering, and this is caused by having or not having a good positive attitude. Of course, there is also suffering which comes from the elements like natural disasters and like that. This is a bit a different topic.
samzedi medio zamba samzedi nebi insa ani chi tuko mangu kada mi sebe kange mangu shuchi yaya di so ani dige kasole labde na le ya lobjong di nebi insa samje lobjong di nebi insa und di chabi
so es gibt so auf der internationalen Ebene und auf der nationalen Ebene gibt es viele Kriege, wo sich verschiedene...
On an international level, also on national level, there are a lot of wars, which is caused by a lack of love and compassion, and this again is caused by a lack of a development of love and compassion. So there is no emphasis on that in our schooling system. And we can see this also in smaller groups like families, relatives, or friends. If there is no emphasis on the development of love and compassion, or if the development of love and compassion is completely absent, then this leads to a lot of negative actions.
Und so werden viele Waffen und auch Bomben und dergleichen.
There is a lot of weaponry and bombs which are manufactured. And the idea is to protect oneself or one's country. And that what can happen if the bombs are not used, they could explode in one's own country and then also cause a lot of damage and harm, of course.
Also in diesen Tagen, also nicht in diesen Tagen, schon seit diversen Jahrzehnten.
Since a long time already, since several decades, His Holiness is encouraging the dialogue between science and Buddhism, or also between religions, not only Buddhism, and he's very successful in that. And the scientists
dann dort eine Beziehung sehen, für die ist das Buddhismus keine Religion, sondern es ist eher.
So scientists usually don't see Buddhism as a religion, but they see Buddhism as a science of the mind, where one analyzes and researches how the mind is working.
아니 이게 가서다 참바다 잡아디 참제 아니 그 랍자 상고디 다 최케 링기 연애다 내내다 디긴 되게지나 동해마도 대박 되게지나 디고고요 디고고요 인자 제자 아니 다디 이게 장고름 제가 믹스 출루도 만들베 또 어다 되게 뜻상고 어딘지 이게 차변 나네 인사다 되지 가사 칼이야 라변 나네야 이 모든 자신은 못 주요 참제디
Also es ist eine Heiligkeit, der Dalai Lama fördert sehr die Verbreitung.
His Holiness the Dalai Lama is very much encouraging the secular aspects of Buddhism, like love and compassion. And he's supporting the integration of these aspects within the school system, in the curriculum.
Also diese Anstrengung hat auch schon bereits gewisse Früchte getragen.
And this effort already is bearing fruits, so it is integrated already in some school systems.
Also so im Allgemeinen, dass Menschen glücklich sein wollen und
In general, that humans want to be happy and don't want to be suffering. So we don't need religion to understand that.
So wenn man also wenn man die Förderung, die Entwicklung von Liebe und Mitgefühl im Schulplan
if the development and the encouragement of love and compassion, if you have this in the school curriculum,
über die verschiedenen Schulklassen, also von den mittleren Klassen bis zu den höheren Klassen entwickeln und dann auch die
so if you have that, if the development of love and compassion is implemented in the school curriculum, so it can be developed and encouraged more and more through the different classes and
zu der Entwicklung des Kindes entwickeln.
And this is then proportional to the development of the child. So the child grows and love and compassion grows.
Also die Erkenntnis, dass die andere Person ein Mensch ist wie man selber und so im gleichen Maße glücklich sein will.
The insight that the other person is a human being just like oneself and has the same wishes, wanting to be happy. If this insight is growing within the society, so that everyone really is realizing that we are all human beings, we all want to have happiness and suffering, we want to avoid suffering, then this will develop within the society and bear fruit. Und
also im Allgemeinen fokussiert sich die Ausbildung auf den Aufbau.
In general, the emphasis of the education is concerned with the accumulation of wealth. But if one can combine that with the inner development, then the person can experience a very good life. If the education, if education and training of a person is only concerned or directed towards the five sense consciousnesses, Because the sense consciousnesses and the experience of the senses one cannot change. But if the education and training is directed to the sixth consciousness, the mental consciousness, then that will be very important and successful, because the mental consciousness one can change. One can analyze the mind and see and experience if there is anger in the mind, and then one can ask oneself, what is better? Is it better if there is anger in my mind, or is it better if there is no anger in my mind? And based on that, one can make a change in one's mind.
Das ist so, wie es in der Einführung in die Bodhisattva-Handlungen von Shantideva.
Just as it is said in the Bodhisattva ways of life from Shantideva, if the hurtful anger is within the mind, there is no room, no space for happiness. And through one's own observation and experience, one can see that anger is contradictory to inner happiness and well-being. It destroys one's own well-being and inner happiness. This stanza says, or the meaning of this stanza is that anger eliminates peace and inner well-being and happiness, and the person in whose mind is anger does not experience happiness, no matter what actions or behavior or conduct this person has, or in which place, area or situation this person is. No matter if the place or situation the person is a very nice one, if the mind of this person is disturbed by anger, this person does not experience happiness or peace. is the same with food. Even if there is a very delicious food, but if the mind of the person is disturbed, the person will not experience pleasure from that food. Same with sleep. If the mind is disturbed by anger, the person will have difficulties to sleep, or the sleep is disturbed. Anger also is harmful for the 5 elements in the body, and it also is harmful for one's health. All these are factors that oneself can observe.
So das Ärger wenn man eine Person als schlechte Person betrachtet,
if one sees a person as a bad person,
kann man das meist auf den Ärger in der Person
usually we can attribute that to the anger in the mind stream of that person.
Schlecht beurteilen in Bezug auf die Nationalität.
In general, we do not judge or assess people as bad according to their nationality. But if you think about a person and attribute that this person is a bad or an unpleasant person, in general, this really is based on this person being angry. And this also has an effect on the environment of the social environment of that person. If a person is really angry, has a lot of hate and aversion in his or her mind stream, this also will be very harmful for the family and working environment, so for all the social interactions of that person.
Und das war man muss das Bewusstsein verändern.
So one needs to change one's mind and develop loving compassion. But it's only possible if the person is aware that there is a 6th form of consciousness, so not just a 5 sense consciousness. There is a consciousness that is able to change. If one thinks there is only the experience of the senses, then this is very restricted, because the experience of the senses you can't change. But if you are aware that this mental consciousness, then you also realize
So man muss das dann auch
this can be
verändern,
changed,
so man muss
and one also
Liebe
has to
entwickeln,
change
man
it.
muss Mitgefühl
One
entwickeln.
has to develop love and compassion.
So was wichtig ist, zum einen im tagtäglichen Umfeld,
It is important in the daily life.
der eigenen Umstände, der Umstände
It is
anderer,
important to change for the change of one's own life,
so beständiges und unveränderbares
and of course also to achieve lasting and permanent happiness of liberation and enlightenment. And to achieve that, one really needs to change one's own mind and develop love and compassion.
So es gibt natürlich viele verschiedene Menschen mit verschiedenen
There are of course many different kind of people. They have different religions.
Religionen folgen. Es gibt auch Menschen, die keine Religion folgen.
There are a lot of human beings who do not follow religion.
Was all diese Menschen im Allgemeinen
But in general, what they all have in common is the experience and the knowledge that anger is something really harmful. And on basis of that observation and insight, it is possible to change the mind. Slowly, slowly.
Also Liebe und Mitgefühl sind, und dann wenn sich der Geist verändert, man Liebe und Mitgefühl, man muss Liebe und Mitgefühl.
And when the mind changes and one cultivates and develops love and compassion, and when that happens, the person experiences much more happiness and inner well-being. So the person herself or himself experiences that, and also the environment of that person in the family or in the circle of friends or in the society. And in a society where love and compassion is developed and encouraged, and there is much more happiness and well-being. In general, one can say that anger is a main enemy of well-being and happiness, and love and compassion is the source of happiness and well-being.
So wenn man das, so die Methoden für die Förderung und Entwicklung von Liebe und Mitgefühl bereits
the methods for development of love and compassion, if these methods are already introduced in the kindergarten even or in the elementary school, then the person has a method how to work with the mind and to develop love and compassion. And this can be extended, for instance, to introduce the methods of mind training. And if that happens, the mind changes. There is a positive development. There is no question about that. All the holy beings of the past, the great practitioners and yogis, they made their experience with the Dharma and they wrote it down in different texts based on their experience. And if one applies these methods oneself, there is no doubt that the mind will be changed, and there is no doubt that there will be a positive effect.
So, das war jetzt eine allgemeine Einführung.
So this was a general introduction, and now we continue with the text where we stopped yesterday, with the stanza 4. Freedom and endowments are difficult to find, and life has no time to spare.
So, es gibt die Einstellung,
there is the attitude that is based mainly on the happiness and well-being of this life, like the place where one lives, the food one has, and one is seeking the pleasure of this life. And this is an attitude which one has not only specifically in humans, but also we find that in animals. This is not an attitude that is separating human and animals. Also the animals have this. They focus on their food and the place they live. They want to have very good food, they want to have enough food, and they want to have a nice place to stay. But as a human, it is very good to be different, also to discriminate between this kind of attitude and to focus one's effort on the achievement of lasting and real happiness.
So, da heißt es hier also Freiheiten und Qualitäten.
So in this stanza is about freedom and endowments, and the freedoms is the freedom to practice the Dharma. One is free of inner and outer factors which would make it completely impossible to practice the Dharma, to not have an attitude to practice the Dharma. So one has the freedom to practice the Dharma, the inner and outer factors, and the endowments. There are 10 of them. 5 are concerned with oneself as an individual, and 5 are concerned with the outer environment. And these are qualities one needs, or factors one needs, in order to practice the Dharma. So personal factors and also factors from the environment, and mainly this means one needs a teacher who teaches and explains the Dharma, and also more personally one needs the wish to practice the Dharma.
So, dann heißt es hier, dass sie sind schwer zu finden.
And it says they are difficult to find.
Eine wertvolle menschliche Wiedergeburt zu erreichen.
To achieve a precious human rebirth with all the freedoms and endowments.
Muss man zum einen
on the one side, one needs to practice ethics, and this needs to be completed by the practice of the six perfections and pure aspirational prayers.
Man muss Ethik praktizieren, so wie gesagt. Das tibetische Wort für Ethik
One needs to practice ethics, and the Tibetan word for ethics is Tsultrim, and direct translation would be something like rules or guidelines. Guidelines or rules based on reality. So it's an ethic based on reality. There are different forms of ethics. It's not only the ethics or the vows of the Sangha of monks and nuns. There's ethics for everyone.
Der Gedanke, ich werde oder die Einstellung, ich werde von einer schädlichen Handlung absehen, zum Beispiel.
It is mainly the thought, I will refrain myself from harmful actions, like I will refrain myself from killing a being. And one can enhance this ethics by taking a vow in order, for instance, to take a vow, for instance, from a lama, or one can also take a vow in front of a statue. And it is very important to practice ethics in order to achieve again a precious human rebirth in the next life. At the moment, we have a precious human rebirth, but we also need that in our future lives, and because of that we need to create the causes. And to create the causes is one's individual responsibility. It is nothing someone else can do for us. Therefore, one needs to practice ethics.
아니 참바다 잡아 장민지 전주 선사를 본 아니 이제는 오늘 산교 고망도 산교 고망사 도에 유딘 디치도 왔다 간다 말한도 내도 이네 미비게 참바다 잡아 신비 유닌 밑에서 아니 지난다나 그 가봐 딱가다 디네레 다나 난다나 전주 뒤줄 루기 마 그래서 무슨 가위 이거 갑니다 가우셔 퇴근된
Und so die wertvolle menschliche Wiedergeburt ist immer schwer zu erreichen.
The precious human rebirth is difficult to attain, but once we have it, it is so valuable and it has a lot of potential. On basis of precious human rebirth, one can achieve real and lasting happiness, the happiness of liberation, if one eliminates the afflictions by developing the right view of dependent arising. And this one can do on the basis of precious human rebirth. And we can see that in the past there are many highly realized beings who achieved that. So having achieved liberation is like an arhat. And on the basis of a precious human rebirth, one can also achieve complete enlightenment. And there are many biographies of highly realized beings where we can read about the life story and the way of practice. And if we read that, it is very inspirational and it shows us what is possible.
So die wertvolle menschliche Wiedergeburt ist schwer zu finden, hat großes Potenzial.
The precious human rebirth is difficult to find. It has great potential, but it is also easily lost. So therefore it is very important to use this opportunity that one has and does not waste it. So it is important to daily train oneself and meditate on the different aspects of the path and cultivate it, even if it's just for a few minutes a day. Otherwise one has a very valuable opportunity, but one wastes it. Just like an acquaintance or friend is just borrowing us a very valuable machine or a rare machine, which we can have and we need it, and we kind of waste this opportunity because we're just sleeping or are lazy, and in this way we are wasting such a precious opportunity. And it is the same with our precious human rebirth. If we do not use this opportunity, now that we have it, and if we don't use it for practicing Dharma and cultivating the path, this would be a real great loss.
So es gibt den Ausdruck das Umkehren der Erscheinungen dieses Lebens.
There's this expression, the appearance of this life is reversed.
Ein Teil unserer Bestimmungen geht dahin,
part of our efforts are directed to have good circumstances and a good place in this life. But then also the mind goes in the direction of the next life and is focused on creating causes to have again very good circumstances in the next life. And if you do that, if we are directing our mind to creating the causes for the next life, this is what we mean when it's said the appearances of this life is reversed. Or like the text says, attraction to the appearances of this life is reversed. And then there's also the reversal of the appearances of future lives. So the contemplation of the cause or the law of cause and effect of karma and the suffering of cyclic existence, so that also the appearances of future lives are kind of refuted within the mind.
So karmische Ursachen und wenn man Karma kontempliert,
when one reflects on karma, then one needs to know the four general characteristics of karma. Karma is definitive. Karma is increasing. One cannot experience a result of a karma which one has not created oneself. And karma does not just dissolve on its own. So these four factors are concerned with all kinds of karma. So Rinpoche didn't read out the stanza so far. Concerning the first point of karma, karma is definitive. This means happiness only is the result of positive actions, and suffering is only the effect of negative actions. For instance, on a field, if we plant different kinds of grains, if we plant wheat, only wheat, we will harvest only wheat, nothing else. If we plant a different kind of grain, like peas, we will only harvest peas. So there is no way that from a seed of wheat there will be a harvest of peas. And it is the same with positive and negative actions.
von kleinen positiven Handlungen
From small positive actions there will arise small positive virtuous results, and from big or great positive actions there will arise a big or great positive result. Similarly in regard to the negative actions, but what will never happen is that one experience negative suffering result coming from a positive action, and the other way around, one will not experience a happy result which comes from a negative action. So this is the meaning of karma is definitive.
Ja, so die Bestimmtheit von Karma, dass Karma definitiv ist, so das bedeutet, dass
this characteristic that karma is definitive
das Leid nur von negativen Handlungen
means again that suffering only comes from negative actions, and suffering will never be the result of positive actions, and the other way around, happiness is only the result of positive actions, and it will never be the result of negative actions.
So dann kommen wir zum zweiten.
The second factor of karma.
Karma sich verstärkt.
Karma is increasing.
Zum Beispiel von einem.
For instance,
Das Gleichnis von einem kleinen Samen kann ein großer Baum.
the example of from a very small seed there will grow a real big tree which lasts and exists for a long time, like if you talk about like a fruit tree, we can use it for a long time. So we can see that from something very small, something very big arises. And it is the same with the karmic seeds or karmic causes. There will arise great or big karmic results.
Und ja, um den Faktor von des Verstärkens von Karma zu erläutern,
to explain the factor of karma is increasing, Rinpoche will tell a story from the sutra
dass nur einmal ist in einer Familie früher, das aus den Sutras, also zur Zeit des Buddhas, Entschuldigung, zur Zeit des Buddhas.
So at the time of the Buddha, in a family there was born a girl, and her name was, so the Tibetan name have meaning, so her name, the meaning of the name was white cloth. And why? She was born with a white dress. And she was born with a lot of positive qualities like wisdom, intelligence, and beauty. And she was born with a white dress. So this girl became a nun at a very young age, and very easily she achieved the state of an arhat.
So, weil es eine sehr besondere Begebenheit war, seine Geburt mit einem weißen Kleid.
So this was of course a very special occasion, that a girl is born with a white dress and achieving very easily ordination and very easily also the state of an arhat. So the Buddha was asked, how did this come about? The Buddha, in his omniscience, knowing all phenomena and all causes and conditions, he explained that at the time of the previous Buddha, Ösung, so the Buddha who was there before, or be it before Buddha Shakyamuni, Buddha Shakyamuni is the fourth Buddha, so at the time of the third Buddha, Ösung,
Paar, die so Frau und ein Mann, die waren
There
sehr
was a
arm.
couple who was very poor.
Und sie waren so arm, dass sie
They were
zwischen
so
sich
poor
auch nur ein weißes Tuch hatten zum Bekleidung, so ein Kleidungsstück.
So they were so poor, they didn't have any clothing. They just had one piece of white cloth which they had to share. They didn't have anything else, so they had just one piece of white cloth to cover themselves up. So only one of them could go out of the house because the other one then didn't have anything to wear. And they wanted to make an offering to the Buddha, but they said, "Oh, we're so poor, we don't have anything to offer." But then they agreed between themselves to offer the only possession they had, which was this white cloth, and they washed it, and they went to the Buddha. And because they only had this white cloth to dress, so both of them went naked, and they offered it to the Buddha, and the Buddha accepted it. And there were, of course, a big audience there, and they were very impressed that this couple gave away their only possession. And so because the audience was so impressed, they helped them and gave the couple offerings. So they had already happiness in this life because of that. And as a karmic result, they were born, each of them, always born with a white cloth because of that. And it was also the cause that they could easily achieve the state of an arhat. So from one small action, there is a really big and great result. So the action in itself was small. It was an offering of a cloth to the Buddha. But the karmic result of this action was that they had immediately success and prosperity in this life and also in all the future lives. And also as a result of this small action, they could achieve the state of an arhat. So this is a story which exemplifies the second feature of karma. Karma increases. So this was the second feature, and the third is one does not experience a result of a karma which one has not created oneself. For instance,
Wohlstand erfährt,
if one experiences prosperity and wealth, it is the result of generosity. And it is the generosity oneself has practiced. So if one wants to experience a karmic result, one needs to create the action, the respective cause oneself.
Und also wir können viele verschiedene Menschen, wir können beobachten, dass Menschen so verschiedenste Aspekte in ihrem Leben haben.
We can observe that humans have various aspects in their life, like prosperity, well-being, long life, health. So some have a lot of sicknesses, others are very healthy, some die very young, others have a long life. So they are all different aspects that people have, and all this is a result of individual actions of all these individuals in their previous lives. And the fourth characteristic of karma doesn't just dissolve or it doesn't lose its power. Is there a different translation possible? So the created karma abides, and when the conditions, the right conditions are there, this karma will ripen.
Und ja, wenn zum Beispiel ein negatives Karma erschaffen wurde,
for instance, if negative karma is created, it abides. It doesn't just dissolve like that. What we need to do is we need to purify that negative karma
das Reinigen von Karma, der religiöse Begriff Beichten, das Reinigen von Karma und dann die Inhalte des Reinigen von Karma und dann auch das Nicht-Wiederholen der negativen Handlungen, das Zurückhalten von negativen Handlungen, so das muss man unbedingt machen.
And so it is really important, it's essential to do that, to purify karma, the negative karma, through confession and the promise to not to do it again, and to restrain oneself from really doing that again. And then of course also we need the regret. So there are four powers.
Buddha Sanje Mui Yin Buddha Mui Yin all those stuff never nani and gave the Yaka to a Shakosana. And people tell the Cabot the Matamahoya Shakosan Timika. Simple to Shashana, Nana Kari Hakura, Ordinancy, Zeta Rangi, to get Perhaps and Betuma, Kudo, Simachi, Sanje, even Taka Kinga, Simachi Sigil. Zeta, that's Sanje Civil Nancy, Kanda, Rangumanity, no Kade, what? Kudo King, says ya. Because ever the Kujo Massivia or Silver Nancy, and Takaran is the water Nova. And it did, Jim Alphonse, what I did the Unani to German, near my much now, changing the teaching. All those Javina and people carry me. How people natural. You will do to need natural.
Ja, so das Bekennen von Negativitäten.
The confession of negative actions.
Der Negativitäten vor den Buddhas.
To confess before the Buddhas. And
obwohl man von den Buddhas eigentlich nichts verstecken kann.
The other side would be to hide it from the Buddhas, but actually we can't hide anything before the Buddhas because they are omniscient.
So praktischen Aspekt, man hat
So on the practical side,
die Kraft, was sich die Kraft der Basis nennt.
We have the power of the basis, like statues or tankas, representation of the Buddhas, which we visualize as actual Buddhas. And the confession is we lay it open. Like if one opens a tree trunk and then we see what is inside. And this is what is meant with confession. We really lay it open. We do not hide anything. And the Buddhas know our negative actions anyway. And we meditate. Just like you, the Buddhas, you see my negativities, it is exactly like that. And I lay it open, I confess it, I did it. And please purify all this negative karma. And from now on, I will improve myself and I won't do these actions again.
Und so wenn wir auf die Liebe meditieren, die auf der Wahrnehmung der anderen Person.
When we meditate on love, which is based on seeing the other person as near and dear, and we cherish the other person. And when we meditate on this kind of love and of bodhicitta, then we purify all negative karmas and we accumulate great positive potential. So we have this double effect. We purify and accumulate virtue and merits.
Und wenn man eine spezielle Person ist, die bereits Leerheit verwirklicht hat,
if one is a real special person who has already realized emptiness and meditates on emptiness, the actual reality of phenomena, this also purifies all negative karmas.
So, wenn man anfänglich praktiziert man das.
In the beginning, one practices the confession, the laying open of the negativities, and restraining from those negativities.
So, wenn man das in Bezug auf die Sutta der 35 Buddhas, oder was man die Sutta der Anhäufung genauso die Sutta der 35 Buddhas, wenn man das in Bezug auf die Praxis der 35 Buddhas macht.
We can do that with regard to the practice of the 35 compassion Buddhas, or it's also called the Sutta of the Three Heaps. And within that, there all the aspects of purifying karma are included, and many also combine that with the physical prostrations to the 35 confession Buddhas. And this is a very powerful and effective method of purification. So contemplating and reflecting on the law of cause and effect of karma, the appearances of future lives reduces, so that means the mind is focused much more on liberation.
So das Bewusstsein richtet sich mehr, so richtet sich auf die Aufmerksamkeit, das Bewusstsein fokussiert sich auf das Erreichen von
the mind is focused on achievement of liberation and is not so much focused on having a nice and pleasurable rebirth. So the focus is on liberation. So that is what it means to the attraction to the appearances of future lives is reversed. So we have completed now the two stanzas, how to generate renunciation, and now we come to the definition of having generated renunciation, verse 5. When, by having trained in that way, there is no arising, even for a second, of attraction to the perfections of cyclic existence, and all day and night the intention seeking liberation arises, then the thought of renunciation has been generated.
So das Maß, wenn man Entsagung entwickelt, dann
the measure of renunciation So if one has developed renunciation, there is no interest anymore in achieving prosperity or just the happiness of this life. One is not really interested in this kind of things, the worldly things, like good reputation. Because all of this is just suffering. If one reflects on the topic of renunciation, like the karmic cause and effect, the mind loses the interest on these worldly concerns. And instead of that, there is a great interest in achieving liberation. This is what is important then for the mind. And if the wish to achieve liberation is there uninterruptedly, day and night, if this is always there, day and night, then one says, this person has achieved renunciation.
Also wenn man den Gedanken, Streben nach Befreiung, den Gedanken der Befreiung,
if one has the aspiration for liberation, this wish to attain liberation, if one has this uninterruptedly, then one has achieved renunciation.
Man behält das, was andere Leute einem erzählen, nur leicht im Geist, unabhängig davon, ob es etwas Positives und realitätsgetreu ist.
For instance, one keeps that what other people tell us. If one keeps that in the mind, no matter if it's something positive or something which is not in accordance with reality, so this. Okay, this was an example. If someone keeps in the mind or remembers something that other people say and constantly thinks about that, and in the same way, if we have the wish to achieve, liberation, and we have that in the mind day and night, then we say we have achieved renunciation. So Rinpoche is thanking the audience, and now we will stop for today. We have complete renunciation, and tomorrow we will continue with bodhicitta.
Und so dann Dharma-Texte wie zum Beispiel den Text hier,
that Dharma text, like the text we have in front of us, we don't call it the actual Dharma jewel, but it is the scriptural Dharma, the written Dharma, and it is very important to treat it respectfully. So, for instance, one should not put it on a cushion on which one sits usually, also not put it on the floor. So it would be good to put it on a surface like a small table, which is a bit higher. So not on the floor or on a cushion or on a chair where we usually would sit on. If one does this repeatedly, what happens in the mind is that the mind So what happens if one does this repeatedly, the mind gets dull, and one loses the capacity to have a clear and sharp mind. And now we have still time for question and answer. So the question is, how can we think about liberation? How can we imagine that? What is it what is liberated?
Man kann sich einen Geist vorstellen, der vollkommen frei ist von Leid. So we can think about a mind which is completely free of all suffering. Completely free. So in general, one experiences all kinds of suffering. There are many forms of suffering. And a state of liberation, the mind is completely free of all suffering. And sometimes we talk about the exalted, lasting happiness of liberation. And technically speaking, happiness is not permanent, but therefore in English we use the word lasting, so it stays, we don't lose it. So we talk about the suffering of cyclic existence, the existence within samsara and the different sufferings. And once we have achieved liberation, one is completely free of that.
Pinjung Towe Tonatoya, Big Omni,
Und es gibt die zwei Formen der Verdunkelung. Man spricht von den
There are two kinds of obscurations, the obscuration to liberation and the obscuration to omniscience.
So die Verdunkelungen durch die Verblendungen, das bezieht sich auf
The obscurations to
Geistesgifte,
liberation, so these are the afflictions, the mental poisons, which are the main cause for suffering, for the truth of suffering. In order to liberate oneself from suffering, one needs to liberate the mind from the obscuration to liberation, so from the afflictions. And this is a wisdom that realizes emptiness and dependent arising. So, as an addition, the technical terms also are used as the afflictive obscurations and the knowledge obscurations. When the mind is liberated from the afflictive obscurations, and one has the wisdom realizing emptiness, then this is what is technically called the small liberation. And when one is liberated from the knowledge obscurations, this refers to the latencies of the knowledge of the afflictive obscurations, and the mind needs to be purified from these latencies through the wisdom realizing emptiness. And when that is achieved, the person achieves Buddhahood, the great liberation. Then we stop here, and Rinpoche says the audience, the students are probably very tired and they also had to go to work today.
Dann Seite 3. Dann Seite 2 auf dem Beiblatt. Saji Bögli Chosi Medotam Dera Pinchini Dedien Badi Sangye Shingdo Mikte Ubadi Trogun Abdab Shingla Chukashu Idam Mururat Amandavatam Niyatayami Tandu Sendo Rinpoche Magyevanam Kiguchi Kevanyam Pamepayam Omne Kondu Kevasho Tava Rinpoche Magyevanam Kiguchi Kevanyam Pamepayam Omne Kondu Kevasho Jesus, do
Good night. Why? Okay.
Darfst du morgen mit Kochen und Putzen bei der Mädchen? Sie ist auch schon, also ich war jetzt gestern und heute war ich dabei. Ich kann ja nicht kochen. Aber sie ist immer, es ist so, wenn da jemand sich wirklich auch noch sprechen. Ich habe halt als Putzbad und Toilette gehabt und wenn ich als Wochenende ein bisschen zu Hause bin. Und dann sie ist in seinem Zimmer, aber wir zwei haben mit dem Zimmer im Zimmer gegessen. Sprich mit ihr, das ist Schleißheimer Straße 187, sprich mal mit ihr, wie du hinkommst, ja? Und das ist in der Nähe von mir, das ist eine Fahrstation in Mittelrhein. Wo wohnst du? In Sensen? Das ist natürlich schlecht. Das ist natürlich ein bisschen ungünstig. Sprich mal mit der Sabine, weil wir haben halt gedacht, das wird dir natürlich eine Freude machen. Wenn es aber zu kompliziert zum Hinkommen ist, musst du mal schauen. Weil meine Cousine kommt morgen mit besuchen, da haben wir gedacht, das wäre super für dich. Und dann ist jetzt auch noch wegen der Fahrt nach Landau. Die Landauer, die holen ihn ab, aber mit einem Fünfsitzer, ne? Da könntest du mitfahren. Und, ich kann dann ja mit Sabine am Sonntagmorgen fahren. Aber dann nicht, ich habe ja schon, ich schaue ja auf meine Schwester. Ich habe ja schon von Lernen dürfen. Also ich habe jetzt schon viel Zeit mit ihr verbringen können, auch im Januar, das ist sehr schön. Dann könntest du jetzt mal die Gelegenheit wahrnehmen. Ja, natürlich, wenn man das ja gerne so morgen kommt zu dir geht auch. Also
wir sind dann eben zu dritt, also wir sind morgen kommen, wir sind dann mit Birgit aber er fährt am Abend
Am Samstag
ja,
nach der Einweihung. Ja. Die kommen hierher und das weiß ich aber im Detail nicht genau. Also ich nehme nicht an, dass die Gepäck schon hierher kommen. Sie werden vermutlich, aber genau wissen tue ich es nicht, die werden vermutlich nochmal in die Wohnung fahren und dann die Sachen
oder ich muss sagen, ein ganzes Halb und Gut schon
was wirst du dabei haben? Also du musst halt mal schauen, weil die Fahrt ja sicherlich, es ist noch nichts organisiert, wir wissen jetzt bloß, dass vom Land kommt jemand mit einem 5-Sitzer, aber auch nicht wirklich zur Einweihung, also wirklich nur als Chauffeur. Und Vorsicht, hier muss, das ist ganz wichtig für den Livestream. Naja, also aber wenn Birgit und Frau Schreiber, die fahren am Sonntag dann auch
die Birgit fahren, die Mama fährt zum Kurm, der hat ja Premiere, Filmaufführung und die kommen am Samstag gar nicht. Also die Birgit, dann ist die Heike noch dabei, wir sind dann am Samstag.
Also du hättest ein Auto, wo du nach Landa kommst.
Weiß ich nicht, keine Ahnung, weiß nicht, wie die da hinfahren. Ne?
Also ich
weiß nicht, ob die Heike überhaupt hinfahren. Ne?
Ja gut, das müsste man halt jetzt noch schauen. Also
die kommen ja mal.
Also das war ja eine Möglichkeit, aber eben die Landa, das müsste man mit der Maria, die müsste man halt anrufen, weil von denen kommt keiner hierher. Die sind bisher beschäftigt. Und, aber sonst halt, die Sabine fährt ein Auto am Sonntag früh und da kann ich in jedem Fall mitfahren und da ist sicher auch noch andere Platz. Ja. Das müsste man halt jetzt organisieren. Ich habe halt nur gedacht, das wäre ja schön.
Das ist sehr lieb von dir. Boah, das ist super, will ich da hinschieben. Ich sehe ihn, ich habe ihn jetzt zweimal gesehen und wir haben heute nur gerelaxt. Mama und ich. Ja, also mir gesagt, dass du das im Landau jetzt.
Ich habe ihn zwar jetzt gesehen, da war in seiner Nähe, aber geredet haben die nichts. Hallo Rinpoche. Wir haben auch weißt du was, dann brauche ich auch deine Hilfe. Stell dir vor, meine Eltern kommen nach Landa, aber nur mich besuchen. Die kommen mal mit am Dienstag, mittags und kommen mich besuchen, also mich sehen wollen. Dann will ich das einfädeln. Ich habe im Fernsehen schon gesagt, ich will das irgendwie einfädeln, dass die Rinpoche wenigstens mal sehen. Ja? Also die haben kein Interesse an der Belehrung oder sonst was. Aber weißt du, in Landa ist ja so klein. Ja? Das wäre so eine Eindrücke von den Eltern. Den Guru. Ja. Bräuchte ich deine Hilfe, dass man das ist. Ja, stell dir vor. Ich weiß auch nicht, was los ist. Ich habe meine Eltern auf eine Woche Rinpoches Widmungslisten in Maya setzen lassen. Es wird auch vorgelegt, dass sie einen friedlichen Lebensabend haben und ihren Widerstand gegen das Lama aufbauen. Hast du das jetzt?
Wahnsinn. Es funktioniert sofort, ne?
Ja, offenbar.
Ach so, ne.
Ja, super.
Sag mal, wie viel Film übersetzt hast du? Okay, das kommt mit.
Ja, ich wollte eigentlich auch heute
Ich finde, du solltest ins Englische übersetzen und er.
Ganz ehrlich, das habe ich auch gedacht, aber das geht von der Technik her nicht, weil es sind halt schon einige Leute, die können kein Englisch. Ne? Aber für ihn wäre es einfach definitiv was.
Er müsste ins Englische und du von ihm weg ins Deutsche. Ja. Das habe ich gestern von Frau Schreiber gesagt.
Das wäre auch besser so, aber das geht von der Technik her.
Also es
klar, der tut sich so schwer mit dem Deutschen, so schwer.
Ja, aber das ist unmöglich. Ich meine, der lebt sich. Was hat er für eine Bürokratie?
Auch wenn man das braucht, um viel interessieren, es ist einfach so. Wenn er selber unterrichtet, hat er ja seinen eigenen Text, aber das Übersetzen, das fällt ihm mega schwer. Ja. Also das ist wirklich,
man merkt halt,
also ich merke es mir tut es auch schwer. Ich tue mich dann auch schwer, den ganzen Satz zusammenbringen. Ja, ist nicht einfach.
Ja, aber du wolltest ja Übersetzer werden. Schon bist du Übersetzer.
Ja. Ich bin auch wirklich, freut mich auch, dass ich mal was Praktisches mache.
Deine Wünsche gehen unmittelbar wie das Weiße, die neuen
aber nicht alle. Die wirklich wichtigen nicht.
Weil doch bitte, dass deine Eltern kommen.
Also das war ganz brav, wo die gesagt haben, ja, dann, ich habe ihnen gesagt, ich bin in München jetzt fast 14 Tage. Und ich kann aber nicht zurückkommen, weil ich habe keine Zeit. Und ja, dann könnten wir den besuchen. Ja, zuerst haben sie gedacht München und dann sagt mein Vater, ja, aber eigentlich was wir haben so, die haben so ein altes Auto und da können sie gar nicht in die Innenstadt fahren. Und dann sagt er, eigentlich wäre für uns Landau besser. Und ich wollte schon freudenschrei loslassen, weil es einfach viel familiärer ist. Und so, ne?
Super, was kann ich dann machen?
Du musst irgendwie schauen, dass der Rinpoche dann runterkommt, wenn die da sind. Und das ist so ganz zufällig.
Ja, ich hole ihn.
Das würden die nicht machen, zu ihm ins Zimmer holen.
Nein, ich hole ihn. Muss man aber...
Komm, Rinpoche, komm.
Ja, genau.
Elternzimmer.
Ja. Pamo an, also wie ist das? Pala heißt Eltern. Ein bisschen was.
Ja, ich glaube.
Ja.
Wenn man so ein Tuch übers Kissen legt, ist es doch okay dann,
Ja.
oder? Ja. Gut, aber auch, ich finde auch, also der Gesang ist auch irgendwie etwas peinlich. Dass die nicht singen, dass da keinen Nutzer gibt oder was.
Es ist ein Studienzimmer.
Also Tuch ist okay dazwischen. Ich habe es doch extra genommen.
Du hast da einen Zettel gemacht?
Ja.
Das ist eigentlich Honig kleine.
Den Honig, also ich habe es so verstanden, kleinen. Das ist natürlich, weil es ist klein, ja.
Was übrig bleibt, kann man mitnehmen.
Sowas, ne? Dann einen normalen Joghurt.
Also Naturjoghurt, genau.
Also auch so kleine Packungen, so mega. Milch.
Auch so halbe oder ganze Liter. Man muss die ja flüssig machen, die war eigentlich flüssig mit der Milch. Ich bringe meinen Liter mit. Das ist ja für 5, 6 Wochen. 2.
Und das ist auch der selber gesagt.
Okay.
Und der Knackpunkt ist die 20 Mal, die